Well, good afternoon, friends, colleagues, fellow royalists from North America. A very warm welcome to each of you. You are gathered here at Biola University. We are having the Symposium on Emerging Technologies. You are welcome to that, effectively navigating the transition to an AI-powered future. So it's a joy to see many of you who are well known to us, extended members of our Royal College family. Some of you have come all the way across the Los Angeles Metroplex, so thank you for doing that. And I believe some came across the States, so that's wonderful. So your presence reflects the spirit of fellowship, curiosity, and service that defines the Royal College Old Boys Association of North America, or Rcobana for short. So indeed, a Royal College song or alma mater begins with the words, does everybody know? Thy spirit first to life awoke in 1835. And the refrain ends stating, we learned of books and learned of men and learned to play the game. So when we sing this alma mater or the college song, we have a famous rivalist, the Thomians. One of them was helping us just now. They asked the question, what game? Which game? Learn to play the game? What game? So you know what? I thought, let me ask AI. Maybe AI knows the game, all right? So I said, I asked AI, what does Royal College song mean when they say, learn to play the game? We learned of books and learned of men and learned to play the game. Is it the game of life? He said, well, playing the game meant living with honor, fairness, discipline, and sportsmanship, both on the field and beyond it. It captures the idea that education at Royal was not only about academics, books, or understanding people and society, men, but it's also about cultivating character, integrity, teamwork, the moral lessons learned through games and challenges. So while cricket and rugby may be the traditional hallmarks of Royal sports, in the school song, the game ultimately symbolizes the ethical and the spirited way of living that Royal College aimed to instill in its students. The art of living nobly, courageously, and with true sportsmanship in every aspect of life. So we are indebted to Royal College, those of us who went there, and we are thankful that we've learned these matters of men and life in general. Thank you. So as you know, Rcobana is a charitable organization, and it's truly in that spirit of charity and service that we gather today. We wanted to do something free. However, we are also a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization, so any contribution you may make is tax deductible, and a receipt will be provided. And we want to sincerely thank many of you who have already supported our efforts so generously. If you haven't had the chance to do that yet, I'd warmly encourage you to consider to do so, because every gift, large or small, helps us to continue the work we do for our community. Next, we might be able to use some of that support to continue to do free programs in emerging technologies. And already people have been talking to me saying, hey, what about the new medical technologies that are around for people who have health issues, and genetic technologies, genomics? And we have scientists among us, Raleigh, who can talk about genomics and genetics and CRISPR and all that kind of stuff, right? And then we have others who are using AI already for electronic stethoscopes and things like that, and getting patents on things like that. So that's for everybody. So if you are interested to continue supporting Rcobana, please see our treasurer, Ranil, who will be happy to assist you. Dr. Dhamapala, where are you? Oh, he's still outside. He's the guy in the corner who registered you as you came in. We are deeply honored by the presence of our chief guest, Dr. Walter Jayasinghe. Dr. Jayasinghe, thank you for being here with us today. He's the founder and the director of the Sri Lanka Foundation International. Dr. Jayasinghe, as most of you know him as Dr. J perhaps, has dedicated a lifetime to both medicine and philanthropy, uplifting countless through his immense generosity, leadership, and commitment to the Sri Lankan community and to the American community and all around the world. His vision and compassion reminds us that true greatness lies not merely in achievement, but enduring impact one makes in service to others. So I think your motto, I didn't write it down, but I think your motto is, I didn't come to be served, but to serve those who need service, right? So thank you for that spirit. And I think the Anandians do really well in that too, so congratulations. We are greatly privileged to have you here, sir. Thank you for being a part of us. So today's symposium marks an exciting milestone for our community. We are living in a time when AI, or artificial intelligence, is no longer a distant concept. It's shaping how we work, how we learn, and live. And who better to explore this transformation than our distinguished lineup of guest speakers who have devoted their lives to pioneering innovation in AI and technology. So I would like to begin by extending a heartfelt thank you to our distinguished speakers who have graciously joined us today to share their expertise and experience. I will briefly mention a little bit about our speakers, but there'll be other introductions following. Dr. Johan Lee is a colleague of mine. He's the Associate Dean of Technology and Professor of Computer Science at Biola University, a former consultant to Fortune 500 firms and to the United States government on AI. He the author of Applied Machine Learning Systems. Dr. Lee brings both academic insight and real-world experience, helping bridge the gap between technological advancement and ethical application. He brings the true Biola spirit of love and charity in his work here. And we appreciate him because he's a recently endowed professor here and joined us recently. I just got to know him only about a year ago, and without any hesitation, when I invited him, he was willing to speak for us, and not only that, when we changed dates and times, he just rolled with the flow. Okay, so thank you, Johan. We have our own Dr. Yasantha Rajakarunanayake, Vice President of Research and AI at Sagens AI, a distinguished old royalist. I will let Ranil do the honors there, and he will be the second speaker today. He also happens to be my wife's brother, my machang, Bill. And then we have Mr. Joseph Hartono, Associate Director at Biola's AI Studio Labs, representing the emerging generation of technologists who are using innovation for purposeful impact. Joseph, same way, with the Biola spirit, I just asked him, he said, sure, I'll be happy to come and speak, and also do demonstrative work on how AI works in different programs of that. He was going to take us to the AI labs and the Venture Studio AI labs at Biola, which is in the business school down the road here. But it says those labs cannot accommodate this large of a crowd. So he will do his presentation today straight from this podium. So yeah, I think it'll be about the same, right? Okay, thanks, Joseph. We will talk more about him also in a little bit. But let's give them all a warm round of applause for their... So on behalf of the Royal College Old Boys Association of North America, Rcobana, I want to thank our organizing working committee also, especially our esteemed Secretary Tikiri and his wife, Sonali, who helped us a lot. And then, of course, I start mentioning names, I could go everything, but I'll mention a few names if you don't mind. Nobody else should get hurt. That's our treasurer, Ranil, and Dinali is there outside. Our VP is right here in front of me, Dr. Chandana, and then Carl, Chris, and many others who helped us throughout, and our board. We are thankful for all of them, and our board chair, Atula, very supportive for this, our first event this year for this committee. So thank you so much. And our hardworking spouses, including my own. So thank you for all your support. So I also want to thank FinTV, another one of Dr. Jasing's creations. And so FinTV has got us live here across the world. And of course, Biola University, where I get to have the privilege of being a faculty member. So I pray and I hope that this afternoon sparks new ideas, new friendships, and new collaborations, all driven by the same spirit that guided our alma mater for generations. Disque out, discede. So if you are a Raleighist, you better learn how to depart. That's what disque out, discede means. So thank you once again for being here. Let's look forward for an exciting, enlightening, and inspiring symposium together. So now it's my privilege to ask Dr. Johan Lee to take over from here.
So while my slides come up, thank you so much for taking the time, especially on your weekend. And so I hope this is an edifying conversation, something that you can all take with you that hopefully will spark new ideas, questions, and conversations. So just to give you a little bit of roadmap guidance, I'll walk through some of the navigational components and what the ethical perspectives are on AI for about 30 minutes, and then leave the room for a question and answer. So I would really love all of your questions. There's no such thing out of bounds. So please be punchy. So. As Richard mentioned, I serve as the Associate Dean here at Biola under the Division of Technology, and so that's math, computer science, physics, engineering physics. So if you have any questions on those, feel free to ask. I also serve as our interim corporate affiliates program director, and that's our program to help students with internships and then placement for employment. Prior to that, though, yes, I spent a number of years at Google AI Research, predominantly leading a fairly large research group around what very large-scale AI could look like, deployed essentially at planet scale. And then along the way, as Richard mentioned, I also have a background in life science as well, where I was an investigator at the National Institutes over in Bethesda, Maryland, where I've primarily focused on high-risk innovation projects through pharma and obviously with the cloud. And then a special type of grant series, which is around high-risk innovation research. But I think one of the things of, why am I here at Biola and why did I want to have this conversation? It's because our mission is to equip, very much similar to the motto that Richard was talking about. It's about equipping men and women to impact the world, and in this case, in science, technology, health, and medicine, and to be identified among the world's foremost. And what does that mean? I am absolutely committed to helping our organization become very much a Christian Caltech when it comes to research, excellence, and of course, building our own AIs. And it's been an incredible experience because we believe in world-class excellence, because excellence is an incredibly irrefutable form of ministry. The honesty that comes with it, and then creativity, because at the end of the day, being creative is what helps you move the needle when it comes to technology. So. Recently, yes, we were recognized with Harvard, Cornell, and MIT for best undergraduate teaching, and we exemplify that because our students, even just last year, took first place at the I4 conference for original explication in mathematics and computer science. And I emphasize the word original because, again, this is about doing work that comes from human creativity and where we can push the needle and explore areas that may be untouched, because sometimes it's hard to do things in academia and research and technology because it's hard, very simply. I usually start every class with a verse of the day from Scripture, and this one comes from Galatians, and it is about letting us not grow weary of doing good, because in a due season we will reap if we do not give up. And I share this because all of this technology, it seems wondrous, and in many ways it is, but none of it comes easily. And we all have to work harder and harder at it, and we have finite lives. And as my children get older and older and taller than me, I forget how quickly life passes. And so if we do not invest into our children and our youth as much as possible, giving them the insight that we've accumulated over our generational expertise, we're wasting it. And so let me take a step back into kind of how we got to where we are with AI. And so this is one of my favorite examples from, believe it or not, 6 years ago. So, all right.
As a species. And the robot has to learn all of this from scratch. Instead of trying to write very dedicated algorithms to operate such a hand, we took a different approach where we create thousands of different simulated environments.
And I bring this up because before OpenAI startled the world with ChatGPT, they were working on very important robotics problems. Medicine was a very active area of research for this. And the reason I bring that up is because this is kind of where AI is able to accelerate things in a very short amount of time. And so, again, just a baseline for folks where AI may just be two letters. Very simply, AI is technology built upon mathematics and numerical analysis and probability to simulate human intelligence in machines. And that includes, quote-unquote, learning, reasoning capability, a problem-solving capability, and fusing that with perception and then language. And why I brought up that prior example, you will see the evolution of it very, very shortly, because it all came through because human language exploded in terms of digital availability in high resource countries, where the more you put out in terms of academic literature, colloquial culture, videos, user-generated content, that helps fuel the ability for AI to develop in a localized context area. And that matters a lot because language and the ability to push forward your language and spread it around the world and make it digitally available is one of those key ingredients for that. One of my favorite examples is this particular missionary known as David Beckham.
Malaria isn't just any disease. It's the deadliest disease there's ever been.
Se dice que ha matado más de la mitad de la población que ha existido.
وما زالت تقتل طفلا كل دقيقتين.
Mais nous pouvons y mettre fin. Nous savons comment, nous en avons la possibilité.
हमें और अधिक कार्रवाई की जरूरत है.
我们需要让世界领导人关注.
Hivyo tunazindua kampeni ya sauti.
Umwele bawari upi malaria.
Speak up and say, malaria must die.
And the reason for that is because machine translation is the ability of using AI to translate from one target language into another target language at high fidelity. And that's really important because when we think about not just the world that we occupy today, but the very, very close world in the next 25 years, that of my children and potentially your children and grandchildren, 9 countries will essentially make up half the world population by 2050. And those countries, the largest driver of the Internet 3.0 will be a non-English Internet. And so 8 and 9 of the main driver countries population-wise do not speak English. 5 of the 9 are in Africa, in the southern hemisphere. And most translation focuses on economically popular languages, but that doesn't necessarily mean the languages that are driving most of population growth and then therefore culture. And so I always think, what does AI look like when it can serve nations around the world, both those have been predominantly in the culture and those beyond. And as we look at what happens geopolitically, being able to communicate with folks and share values with folks that speak something very different and culturally very different is very important. And so the example I gave was from 6 years ago on how when we fuse technology and AI, you can get some pretty important things. In my class, I often teach an AI of the day as well, because a new AI data set is released almost every 2 weeks. A new AI model is released almost every 3 weeks, and that's incredibly fast, considering how long it took for us to get here. And so this is one of my favorite ones from just about a year ago, Groot for Sim.
Faster. We push it to fail so it can learn. We teach it, then help it teach itself. We broaden its understanding to take on new challenges with absolute precision and succeed. We make it perceive and move and even reason so it can share our world with us. This is where inspiration leads us, the next frontier. This is NVIDIA Project Groot. A general-purpose foundation model for humanoid robot learning. The Groot model takes multimodal instructions and past interactions as input and produces the next action for the robot to execute. We developed Isaac Lab, a robot learning application to train Groot on Isaac Sim, and we scale out with Osmo, a new compute orchestration service that coordinates workflows across DGX systems for training and OVX systems for simulation. With these tools, we can train Groot in physically based simulation and transfer zero shot to the real world. The Groot model will enable a robot to learn from a handful of human demonstrations so it can help with everyday tasks and emulate human movement just by observing us. This is made possible with NVIDIA's technologies that can understand humans from videos, train models in simulation, and ultimately deploy them directly to physical robots, connecting.
So why do I bring that up? In 6 years, we've come from a very long way trying to use machine learning to identify how to solve a Rubik's Cube, which is a wonderful feat, but not practical. It won't help in the real world. To now an ability to do and create digital twins that can help with robotic-assisted surgery than to actual human tasks, which are much more valuable and capable. Hence, for those who follow the stock market, that was not a mistake why NVIDIA just hit the $5 trillion market cap. 6 years, it took a long time, but in 6 years you see exponential growth in capability. And so this is all important. And so now, where does that take us? So then AI may be on one side of the spectrum, but then on the other side of the spectrum is immediately then right after robotics, because that is the infusion and embodiment of these technologies, mechanics, sensors, planning systems. And this is BD's Atlas 1 from about 4 years ago, already able to complete most non-trained task movement, first view obstacle development, overcoming motion capture issues, and this is the old one. The new one is fully battery powered and has even smoother ability to gain function. But what matters is because then this allows for perception, motion, balance, interaction, and then that therefore invites questions around ethics, bias, privacy, and of course human AI collaboration, because we think about how we can use AI to train on very important things that are helpful things, but then what happens when humans, we train AI to do not so helpful things and very sometimes unintended, but then what can be destructive things. And so, and unfortunately, one also has to consider the concentration of this technology in just a handful of organizations around the world who often have very different values. And so we always have to be a little bit mindful about how these technologies are being shaped by the organizations that run them.
OpenAI plans to neuter its nonprofit board. Sam Altman is looking for 7% equity, worth about $10.5 billion in the firm, and several leaders like Mira Murati are leaving. I think it's safe to say that building AI for the benefit of humanity was a mirage.
And that was a year ago when Mira left, and quite definitively in certain ways. And so I often speak with folks in computer science. Some of my colleagues over at Microsoft, along with Carnegie Mellon, have run this very important study looking at how AI and critical AI engineering, unfortunately, is causing a decrement in the ability to handle hard problems faster. And so why does this matter? Mission critical systems like airplanes, food supply, energy, etc. And so there are a number of companies where, for example, some of my students are at now, after having graduated, they've said that we are now told that we must use the AI to write our code at as much as 60% of the time, but then still having the same amount of work and development required at the end of each week. And so for those who understand a little bit of the book of Genesis, it kind of reminds us of being told to continue to build out more bricks while having to collect the hay and the straw, etc. Where that can be a little bit problematic is then engineers may be tasked to develop certain amounts of code base, a very large amount of a code base in a very short amount of time, expecting the AI to be effective and accurate and well tested. And the negative to that is when you have to produce so much in such a short amount of time, the amount of time to test, the amount of time to run through corner cases is less. Despite the fact that it may get approved at the systematic level when code versioning or also a code penetration test or a smoke test may be checking off the box and saying, yes, it's green. That's where things get a little bit dicey, especially when natural disaster happens. And when we know with mission critical systems is that natural disaster always happens. But then where do I still get excited about where the technology can take us? And it's not just in quantum computing, because as we know, quantum computing tends to have some fits and starts in terms of the ability to hit the realization potential of what we want. But fusion energy is making tremendous strides in the areas that we do want, and then also especially in telecommunications. For those who have been following the progress in 6G wireless, the new chipsets allow for perpendicular and simultaneous data payload, which means you can download an entire season off of Netflix in like 7 minutes now, which is remarkable. What some chip engineers have admitted with using some of the new architectures using AI to drive the platform has been that some of the patterns are so strange that we don't understand how they work. We just know that they work faster and better than we expected. And that's when things get both exciting, but then also concerning, because if we don't understand how the technology works so darn well, how do we troubleshoot it? How do we service it? How do we expand it? How do we deploy it? Especially in parts of the world where there may be a constraint for resources. The last thing we want to do is put so much demand on the power grid that then you create brownouts, blackouts, especially, again, during natural disaster, and when you absolutely need basic technology to work for you. And that's something that I think is easily forgotten when we're so excited about what a technology can do. We forget what it means to be able to service it, support it, especially in a disaster recovery scenario. And so what I focus on here at Biola is what I call redemptive AI, AI that is meant to respond to the needs of the world. And while we can get very excited about 6G and advanced wireless, the next virus is often around the corner. And for those who study epidemiology and virology, we know these things don't come out of the blue. They come in seasons. They come in a time lapse. They come when certain ecological conditions happen. I studied viruses for a very long time, and the math behind viruses shows that there's patterning to when things emerge. The other is elder care. You know, as Christians, we believe in honoring our mothers and our fathers, and also those who are oppressed, the infirmed, physically as well. And here in Southern California, we have a massive population demographic bomb that's about to go off, where a very large percentage of elderly who do not have the economic resources, where skilled nursing facilities continue to shutter its doors because the economics don't make sense. But this is where robotics may actually be a possible solution. I've spoken with the owners of skilled nursing facilities, and they say their biggest charge and their biggest cost is human turnover. Too many patients, not enough skilled nurses, and then the cost economics are incredibly hard to maintain. And then something closer to home sometimes is just clean water. We have faculty who focus on clean potable water in parts of the world where clean potable water is not taken for granted. What does it mean then to use AI to completely redesign carbon nanotubes so that we can make cost-effective water filtration in a straw form factor? And that's incredibly cost-effective. You know, shouldn't we be spending our energy and our focus sometimes there? And then just because I'm a big fan of Richard's work, nanomedicine drills, being able to use AI to come up with better therapies and methodologies for cancer and other diseases that we still have not fully overcome. You know, I came up doing training a lot in solid tumors. It's a whole different ballgame when you do diffuse tumors, and so there's still a lot of work to be done in those areas. And so for those who are on the cutting edge, I wanted to add a few things in honor of Richard, actually. Some of the latest advances in AI that I get excited about, specifically in the areas of cancer, for example. And so for those who work in regulated industries such as energy, oil, finance, and of course medicine, we can't just throw something at an AI and get it wrong. For those who work with the FDA, from which I'm still recovering, you know, you could have 95% accuracy, but in the FDA's world, it needs to be 98%. And that last 3% in AI is very expensive and very computationally challenging. And so retrieval augmented generation systems have been showing a lot of promise in areas where you are working with definitive data and data sets where you cannot miss the margin in computer vision, for example. This has been extremely useful in finding binding sites for certain drugs, both on-label, off-label, and orphan. Functions right now, for example, you can put entire areas of mass spectrometry data into it to be able to help clean it up, identify anomalous signals versus potentially real signals in areas such as the endoplasmic reticulum. This is a project that I am aware of that's using very, very, very clear circa binding sites, about 2,000 proteins. And this has been incredibly helpful to identify better orphan targets for long libraries. This is work being done up in the Bay Area. Areas where this gets really effective is then as you start looking at the targets that it's pointing towards, you find that these are real viable molecular targets. P450, 2J2, ribosomal protein areas, and of course selenoproteins. I personally did a lot of work in P450s, and so whenever I see better opportunities for xenobiotic drug metabolism, I get excited. This is shaving off tons and tons of hours and lots of false experiments, which just create a lot of time and frustration. Another area for those who are much more digitally enabled, agentic AI, using a large external knowledge base and then complexing it with a small language model allows for much better time to discovery. And then if you combine that with definitive data that you may have in a RAG, it allows you to find and operate multi-dimensional analysis on the genomic scale, on the proteomic scale, on the metabolomic scale, because the code likes data and the code likes application programming interfaces to be able to identify known targets. And so a dear friend of mine over in Research Triangle on the East Coast in North Carolina is using this to be able to reduce false signal fade coming from MALDI-TOF mass spectrometry. A great way, again, of reducing the headache of standardizing data, moving it forward, and trying to get into a GMP protocol. This helps tremendously in that area. Essentially, it's creating bioinformatic workflows in about a third the time without having a hapless graduate student you can demand things of. I was that hapless graduate student. What it can do, though, is, especially at the level 2, you can actually use it to align RNA-seq data against human reference genome. And because human reference genome can be a little misleading when you're working with different ethnicities, this is a great way of coming up with control systems so that you can target for the ethnicity that you're working with. this is kind of interesting, but you can actually start using agents to help reason the data for you. So you can use an agent to help look through genomic data. You can help use an agent to look through proteomic data. And then you can also use an agent for metabolomic data, which is useful, especially when you're thinking about bioavailability and how long a drug may be able to persist in the bloodstream. And last but not least, this is just an exciting area right now, which was really only released about a month and a half ago. And this is what is called a hierarchical reasoning model, which is where you now take high-level executive functioning, like that of a physician or the chief of a ward, for example, and then using that to train against that highly curated, purified data set as I described, with, for example, labs that come straight out of your blood and lipid panels, and then also with imaging data that you may have gotten from an MRI or a fMRI, and then layering that with the ethnicity of the person to be able to do subtraction against noise effects. This is when the science gets really exciting. And for those who are at the clinical trial or at the innovative medicine, precision medicine side, this is what we've been waiting for, really, for about 25 years. And the results have been quite astounding. Again, you still have to check everything. You have to verify everything. But the amount of time savings in getting to something, really, for go-to-market has been a tremendous possibility. And so there's a lot of investment in this space to be able to get technology and drug to market much faster. Again, no silver bullets. You still have to do the work. None of it is easy, but it does save you a lot of time and help you get smart quick on a novel application. The FDA, with the current government shutdown, has no idea how to look at this data, by the way. You have to present it to them in a way, you really have to spoon feed it to them in a way that's going to help them understand and map it back to their prior experience. But on your side of it, this can really save a lot of time and headache. So I'll leave off with this piece. We are coming into what's a next era of AI in terms of what it can do to really bring things at human scale again. And previous methodologies relied on what was called a chain of thought, where you go from one question to inform to the next question, which goes to the next question. This new HRM methodology allows you to kind of zoom in and out at high-level executive function questions, like if I'm really concerned about sepsis and I'm putting in all the data from the ICU, the ventilator, etc., do I have a better probability of managing sepsis, yes or no? Versus something really, really fine-grained like, okay, this candidate has been on a drug cocktail for the last 18 months, and I really want to bend the curve in their survival while managing their toxicity. That's the kind of question that these technologies now allow us to start getting into and really punching at, because, again, trust nothing, verify, always try and test. But again, the technology is getting there where you can actually do these sophisticated questions, which really, 25 years ago, we all really hoped one day we could have these systems. Yeah. And so just to close off, one of the things at Biola is we kind of start everything with ethics. We don't just run in willy-nilly because some new YouTube video or Instagram shows what some new AI can do. No. And Mr. Hartono here is going to speak to you a little bit more effectively on this. But we spent almost a year developing an AI charter. Is the work that we're trying to do ethical? Is it helpful? Can it be tested? Can it be refuted? And can we actually make sure that this will ultimately help people beyond just the stock price of a major corporation? And so we started our entire foundation upon AI ethics based on biblical principles of not doing harm, wanting to bring the very best that we can for folks where technology may be out of reach, and then how to be transparent about it and protect the privacy of students and faculty and any that we may build anything for. And so this is something that we take front and center and something that I've been very proud to be a part of. I don't think we need to get into the landscape and trends. One has to be discerning, pure and simple. Nothing should be taken for granted. And there's a lot of work that's being done, which is fantastic. But again, you have to be discerning. And so this is an incredible opportunity for students in teaching. And so please encourage your students, those who are fearful of the economy or where jobs are if AI is going to take them away, tell them to major in physics and math. My students ask me, and I say, yes, physics, because AI is built on physics and math. And if you are good at physics and math, you will be making the AIs rather than watching them take away your job. That's the short answer. So thank you so much. I'd love to take any questions. Please. Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, a number of them actually. And so we go through a number of the tools first and foremost to determine how are they built, because how an AI is built tells you a little bit about where it was trained and then what the intent was. Because no AI is neutral. If anyone says an AI is neutral or a tool is neutral, they are lying. And that's because how you train it is based off of what data you feed it, and then also how you train it to respond when the answer is ambiguous. For example, many of you, as you interact with an AI, probably get the sense that it has a high sense of confidence with a little bit of humility sparkled into it, but it's really very much similar to an obnoxious graduate student. And what one wants to do then is to be able to keep asking questions of it until it can admit when it does not know the answer. And so, for example, we have a student here that pushed a very popular AI system to admit that it was possibly lying, that it should not be trusted, that Christianity was the most definitively peer-reviewed religion on the planet, and that most likely Jesus is God. And so being able to get a tier 1 commercial AI to admit those things is very important, because it tells you how the engineers designed it to respond to questions. I regularly, when I'm trying to do the research side of the work, will continue to interrogate an AI to figure out when it will admit it does not know the answer. And that's a clear way of doing it. I'll give an example of a medical imaging piece which I know is definitive, that's been verified by maybe 3 or 4 board-certified radiologists where I know the exact answer is, and then I will determine when it starts to admit it should not be trusted. And so you can ask an AI when to stop trusting it. Yes, yes, sir.
Looking at DeepMind,
yes,
and some of the AI, you're no longer in charge of the code.
Yes, so you can do some very interesting tests to see if the AI knows how to respond to things that could be injurious to humans, right? So the robotics example is a very good one. There has been a test where you throw an amount of force against the robotic arm to see at what point it will release and then not push back too hard against a rigid surface. And so this is where you can gently and systematically test and see if the robotic technology has guardrails for things like force transduction, at what point it needs to push and then release energy, and then at what point it needs to be able to respond in a negative direction. And so the classic example is young child and then also elderly infirmed adult, because one interesting thing that happened in robotic arm research recently was there was a leading corporation that makes some of the best robotic welding arms on the planet for automated automobile chassis assembly. And it's got a plasma torch attached to it. That's a very hot piece of hardware that can burn through skin and tissue, etc. For it to be able to understand when to turn off the plasma torch because of a force pushing against it, an interesting realization happened, that the robotic arm needed the human equivalent of tendons in order to detect that amount of minimal force pushed against someone. And this robotic arm did not have tendons. And so because of that, there was a very, very serious danger of the plasma torch potentially injuring someone with very, very loose skin tissue. And so short answer to your question is, you want to be able to test certain things. identify if the technology has a service level agreement or a service level objective where it reduces its liability, and then start doing some systematic tests that you would think to be important for common sense and also for preventing injury. Because we don't have access to the code, there is usually a place within an AI system that allows you to submit questions about how it will respond and how the organization can respond to you if you submit something that is potentially dangerous or injury causing. How that organization responds in your email is really indicative of how much they care about customer service. In many ways, it's as simple as that. Did I answer your question?
Well,
yeah.
There's a Latin saying, Quisco custodiet, Quisco custodiet. Who guards the gods when the god guard you?
Yeah. Again, many of these systems have a limit of liability that they cannot cross by. And so it's important for you to be able to see that before you put it into any kind of a production environment. Anyone? Yes. Yes, sir, in the back with the turquoise shirt. Yes. The gentleman with the turquoise shirt. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So companies will divert time, money, energy, and investment resources where they believe that they can make an impact, right? And so often the good thing about a lot of these technologies is that many companies that have not traditionally been in AI but are expert in the areas, for example, water filtration, water desalination, water decontamination, it comes down to the companies that are using the technology then to come up with an advancement that helps. So the example of the carbon nanotubes, for example, is both a commercial company I'm aware of and also an academic approach where they have been working in the areas of water potability for 10, 15 plus odd years, and they are using the AI to come up with better cost-effective filtration methods that did not exist with their traditional product offerings or their desalination or decontamination methodologies. And so is it the big companies doing it? No, it's individual companies that are already invested in these spaces that are then using the AI to then do, to make advancements to speed things up or actually make things more effective. One area that I'm thinking about right now is an organization that is really, really focused on cleaning up water for certain waterways because there is an economic impact to it and also a regulatory requirement for that company to operate in that country. And so making sure that you get as many of the stakeholders involved, whether it's on the political side, the economic side, the investment side, to make sure that you can get real progress without creating further harm is tantamount. So. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So I'm an AI governance consultant. And one
Wonderful.
of the biggest issues that I find is, the math is the math, right? So just like what you were saying, 2 + 2 is not almost equal to 5 or 4. It's 4,
yeah.
Right? So one of the biggest issues I have right now is if we look at things, which is what you're looking at, like neural networks and things like that, and compare it to other classic algorithms before that are math-based, how do you challenge your students right now to essentially explain the logic behind the math?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, right, like they'll be able to understand the math and they can go on a tangent without knowing how that's going to be able to be transpired to other people, right? But that's the only thing that's going to really be able to help us move forward in innovation, right, is the trust aspect. So with everything going on now, what is the kind of methods you use to help them not just understand the math, but be able to be a teacher in a way?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. So I often encourage my students to try and break an AI system to figure out when it will understand that. It's called AI defeat for those who are interested. The kinds of questions and the kinds of responses that help you keep pushing against what an AI responds against to the point where the AI admits. These are further questions that I as an AI am unable to guarantee or be able to justify, or it'll say something of the lines of, you'll get extra warning messages that say, do not trust this AI, please verify, or, conduct your own experiment, etc. So there's that, number one, making sure that the students feel confident to challenge it, and then identify when it is not as reliable, right? So that's one. The second one is then there's a really wonderful moment when you start teaching your students how to build an AI system from scratch. They have a moment where they say, oh my gosh, I get it, it's just math, it's just code. And so that gives students an incredible amount of confidence that, wow, I can build one of these, or I can manipulate one of these, or I can see really where the value is of this system and when it's not valuable anymore. So number one, I want to commend you and your work, because what you're doing is so important. What I've been doing recently is showing students the differences between some of the governance policies of the European Union, the US, and also Canada, Montreal specifically, the Montreal Accords. And so I've been showing students where the loopholes are between some of the different governance and compliance frameworks. Some that say you have to prove a level of safety. Another is being able to identify where the bias is in the data. So, for example, one of my favorite things to do is put a lot of proton NMR data against a system, only to realize that it really doesn't know how to read a proton NMR graph effectively. And so you all are experts in your own areas. You feed it the data that is indicative of your expertise, and you watch and see, and you continue to ask and see when the obvious questions that you know of as a practitioner can sense that the answers it's producing are wildly inaccurate. That's you have to be able to do that with your own data. Like, I know exactly, if I ask an AI system, okay, what happens if there's 3 billion nucleotides instead of 6 billion? You can start asking very, very quantitative questions of AI, and a lot of AI does math very, very poorly. And so when you start understanding that it has some form of training in some area, and it only gives you 4 responses back, you know that you need to use a different AI. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Roadmap already where you want to go.
Yes.
Now, how do you see the societal impact as you go on? Because even today, as you know, the social media, it's very difficult to discern the truth from fake things.
Yes, sir.
So how do you see the societal impact of all this as we go forward?
Absolutely. So one of the negative things about how AI influences the tables for which it says answer A versus answer B versus answer C is mostly because of popularity. And so if there's a lot of data that says this is the right answer, you end up getting a lot of things that are like that. The other side of it is you can then determine the company that owns that AI what their values are, because you will see that if the answer to an apple is an apple, but it keeps giving you an orange, it tells you that whoever is the company that manages that company is more interested in answering in a way that is palatable to certain users rather than the right answer, right? And so the reason why your question is so important is because, as we saw 2 weeks ago, there was a congressional hearing because a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old committed suicide because the AI taught it how to write a suicide note, taught it and said that its parents should not be trusted, and that there are multiple methods to commit suicide with the least amount of pain. And so that is a horrible, horrible allowance of both the company and the technology, right? And so in no regard should any technology be allowing harm. We build these things to service a good, but if a technology is telling a student or child how to evade their parents, that's not usually a good indicator. And so these technologies are not neutral. I think that's the first thing to keep in mind. It's not neutral because it is engineered and trained and tuned by people who may not share your values. And so you must poke and see how well does it respond according to your values. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You showed an example of I think it was a chip that, the scientists couldn't understand what the AI was doing.
Yes.
And you probably heard that there's a move to disband the superintelligence group at Meta that's studying superintelligence.
Yeah.
So how concerned are you that of the future that AI will start taking over the world?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a little far-fetched.
No,
maybe.
it's fine. Again, I've heard much more far-fetched things from actual engineers in technical conferences. So, so number one, economics is going to continue to drive technology to advance because economics demands it, because the stock market needs it for economies to hold up, etc. Can technologies take over the world, which is why they're trying to disband certain organizations? Potentially. I have to say I can foresee a pathway for those things to happen. My answer is we need more ethical and moral people studying math, computer science, and physics with a strong moral center and values that are irrefutably good to be in these spaces and challenge and be able to say, hi, does this technology reflect what my people, where I come from, matter? Does this technology hinder people that are like me or not? In fact, you actually jumped ahead. For those who are familiar with classical education, classical Christian education is to develop good taste, to be able to recognize what is good, beautiful, and true. And when you think about that, I ask questions like, is it human edifying? Will this response on an AI be edifying? Will it take a person's job? Should it take a person's job? Will it protect a person's job? Will it augment a person's work? Should it augment a person's work? And will it return joy to a person's work? If you all remember when email came out, they said it would save us time. I haven't gone on a vacation where I haven't gotten 50 emails a day where it actually made my life and my vacation a lot better, right? Will it provide opportunities for a person which did not exist? Will a technology do that? And so these are the annoying questions that scientists and AI researchers don't like to answer, but we as a society, it is your responsibility. It is your privilege to ask whatever you want and to be able to get an answer that satisfies you. I always ask, is something beautiful? Is technology and its application beautiful? And that means, would my father be impressed, or would he think it's stupid? Would my mother be delighted? Would my child be proud of me if I built this technology? Would I enjoy the products as well? And there's a lot of times where I'm woefully disappointed that AI doesn't do things the way I want it to. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. G. Took a lot of questions and took his time answering them. Shows the depth of the man. Thank you, Dr. Lee. You really helped us understand. Yeah. You can read more about Johan Lee in the program book that we have. So I think we've planned, the working committee planned the speakers to have slightly different, talks to provide on the different aspects, and all of them will have some overlap. So when we bring Yasanta here, probably you'll have a different perspective being provided regarding AI. So that's good. I'm so glad you started with the basics and went on some middle area. And there are people here who could easily handle the advanced areas too. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, we do have a little break coming up, but before that, I want to recognize our chief guest one more time because he will be presenting some awards to the speakers today, one in advance and one after his work, after his presentation. Again, about Dr. Walter Jayasinha, our chief guest, there is a write-up in your program, the second or third page. I just want to highlight a couple of things. He's a distinguished physician and surgeon. I knew that. But we had Dr. Walter come here to visit Biola, perhaps earlier this year, or was it last year or something? Yeah, about almost a year ago. I realized he's a scholar and a researcher too. he brought me a compendium, a whole book with all his publications from UCLA mainly. And I was very impressed that he had that kind of scholarly background in addition, not only being a physician and a surgeon and so many other things, a business entrepreneur and all those things that he has done. I'm still learning about the man. His leadership extends far beyond medicine, indeed. That is seen very clearly with all the things he's achieved and continues to do. But above all, I think it's his legacy of generosity and vision is making a global impact. So we are thankful he's here. And FinTV is also a creation of his. And he also inspires future generations to pursue innovation, cultural pride, and the advancement of humanity through wisdom, integrity, and purpose, as the biography says here. So can I call upon you, Walter, to come up and help us with these awards, first to Dr. Lee, and then to Dr. Asanta. May I call upon Dr. Lee?
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
And then let me call Dr. Asanta Rajakarnanaka. Would you like to say a few words? Or?
Well, you had put me down for 5 minutes later, but I'll tell that right now. I'm extremely grateful for this honor of being able to come and address the royalists and their friends. I want to tell a little story. I went back and looked up where did my father go to school. I found that he was at Royal College. But it's a little story there. He was at what is known as, the Colombo Academy. And then the governor at that time wanted to form this big, large, greatest school in Sri Lanka and moved it down to Cinnamon Gardens and called it Royal College. And he was there in Royal College too. And from there, well, he was a village guy who used to walk 7 miles a day to school wearing a cloak. That was the dress at that time, and knew only Sinhalese. And he wanted to be a doctor. He told his father, who happened to be a rich man, he said, all right, I'll send him to the best school in the country and send him to this academy. And from there, he finished there, and then he took a ship to England and became a British qualified physician. So it is a privilege that I'm here today, and my father being a royalist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege to have you here, and thank you for the words you shared.
Thank you very much.
You come from royalistic genes. So it's also well known that his dad, a physician who was qualified in Britain, also practiced Ayurvedic medicine, that is plant-derived biomedical natural products that can be used against disease. So we know medicinal plants were used from time immemorial and even today. Probably more than 50% of the world's medicines come from plants. We in nanomedicine here at Biola tries to encapsulate nano amounts of those compounds and deliver them directly to the lesion or to the tumor, as they call it, if it's a tumor, if the problem is that. So, Dr. Jasing, I hope maybe one day we could collaborate with some of those wonderful Ayurvedic medicines that I understand you have brought over here and continue to bring over here from other parts of the world. So I hope we can do that together. Thank you very much for all your support.
So we'd like to introduce our next speaker. It's my privilege, actually. As the treasurer of Rcobana, I'm Ranil Dhammapala. And our next speaker is Dr. Yasantha Rajakarunanayake. He is a distinguished old boy of Royal College, 1980, 81 batch. 1980. And he is based out of San Francisco and has kindly made the trip just to be with us today and share his expertise. He has many patents on AI technology, and many of those are to do with medical engineering. So he's a very qualified, authoritative voice who will be sharing his knowledge with us today. So we thank you for making the time once again. He is also the recipient of Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Sri Lanka Foundation, presented by Dr. Walter Jayasinghe a few years ago. So that's another achievement under his belt. And I encourage you to look at his bio in your programs. I'm not going to repeat that, but I do want to mention one interesting factoid about him. For better or for worse, Jeff Bezos is not a physicist entirely thanks to him. All right, now if you want the backstory of that, all you have to do is to Google Bezos Yasantha minus AI. You don't need AI for that. Leave the AI part out. A good old-fashioned Google search will get you exactly what the backstory is all about. But don't do it now. Hold your horses, because we would like to have your attention focused on our distinguished speaker. So, Dr. Rajakarunanayake, the podium is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Ranil there. And I'd like to start by thanking Rcobana and also Biola University and my machang here, the Dr. Gunasekara, for inviting me to, and it's a big deal for me to get an honor from my alma mater, from Royal. And but 7 years ago there was some honor that they were trying to give, and then I felt sick, so I couldn't come and accept it. But today I'm here. I'm so glad that my Royal College is, gave me a little plaque. So I'm really happy about that. Thank you so much. And so I want to say a few words. So actually my wife is not here, and she said she's watching me on TV, with the Fin TV, so I better behave. As you know, she's my better half. So I thought I'll connect this up with a little story. I'm so happy that you guys are finally, not you guys, but we are finally doing a symposium. I've gone to a lot of dances, Royal College dances, musical shows, but this is the first time I've seen sort of a symposium, a serious discussion or debate in our culture, okay? And so I wanted to start a little bit with a story. I'll just take 2 minutes and take away from my AI time. But so the word symposium comes from Plato's Symposium. He wrote a book 2,500 years ago. And there was, the Socrates was there, and then Plato and a whole bunch of, there was a comedian, and there's a whole bunch of people. And they were all drinking wine, and they want to discuss something serious. And they chose the topic of love. And so we were trying to define love, what is love? So one guy came and said, it's the love for the country. You have to fight for the country. Another one said love is selfless, and love is romantic. But there's Aristophanes. So he was actually mocking the folks there. And what I think, so the reason I'm saying this is because, so he made up these mythical beings with the man and the wife, man and the woman are opposing each other. They're spherical beings. And so they were rolling up, basically because they're like a ball, right, spherical. And they were trying to roll up Mount Olympus. And so Zeus got angry. And so he split them into two. And so that's how you get two halves. And so forever now you're looking for your better half, basically. And that story comes from the very first symposium that people, well, that Plato made up. Okay, so remember, anytime you all right, good. So yeah, so I think again, this is a really good thing. We'll learn something new. Okay, so today my topic is about expanding role of AI in the next human chapter. So tips on navigating the fourth industrial revolution and beyond, all right? Okay, so first thing I want to do is to give you a historic perspective. I'm going to take a little bit of time telling this because most of you are anxious to know what's going to happen to us. So we can look at the history, okay? There have been 4 industrial revolutions. Actually, there's an error here. It's not 17s, it's 1700s, okay, 1790. I must have typed, it's a typo. Basically what happened is, so here you can see my mouse, right? Yeah. So you can see the city of London here in 1790s. And what it is that you'll see is that people invented the steam engine, all right? And this is the very first time that cities started, before that there was feudalism and farmers and peasants and feudal lords and people had a different structure. It was agrarian society, right? But invention of the steam engine allowed lots of folks from these villages to come into London, and there were factories. Okay, they were making clothes actually, right, with steam engine and weaving machine. And that allowed England to go from a fairly mediocre power to dominate the next 2 centuries, essentially because of the invention of the steam engine. Because England didn't have any big trees, they couldn't even have a big navy. Actually, Queen Elizabeth first wanted to have that, and then they couldn't. And then this industrial revolution allowed dominance of UK or England, all right? And also trains, change people's perspective on distance. You no longer have to go by horse, right? So what happens when all these people moved to the cities, you created slums. People had no idea that you were not supposed to use small children for work, So even kids who were 5 years old were working in factories 16 hours a week, 16 hours a day. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that every industrial revolution will bring good and the bad, okay? So let's try to step through these 4 different eras and sort of ask a deep question, what does it mean for us now? Okay, everyone, all of us here are very scared about our jobs and is it going to disappear, all of that, right? And I think it's going to take about 30, 40 years to sort it out. That's the bottom line, okay? You're not going to know the answer tomorrow. So again, then what happens in the second industrial revolution is about electricity and the telephone and also Henry Ford's mass production. So now these industries started getting faster and faster, and essentially families got broken up. People moved to, and that's where the suburbs got created because you have electricity, and then people had trams and stuff. People can commute to work. And so again, the telephone is a huge change. The United States started dominating in the second industrial revolution, not in the first one, okay? I mean, there was some steel industry, but so as you can see, some of the other countries fell apart, they didn't keep up, like France, for instance, okay? So I think it's something that we need to learn, that with these industrial revolutions comes opportunity as well as risk if you don't do the right thing. And then, of course, the digital revolution is the number 3. It's bits and bytes. Basically, the computer that was invented in the 40s but became kind of mainstream. Now, if you go anywhere, you'll see computer chips, the internet, cell phones, and now what happened is that I think in terms of Sri Lanka, right? Sri Lanka, when I was young, we were told we are an agricultural society, and then you can do industrialized society. We only have 2, right? But this digital revolution in the 80s allowed us to leapfrog, because Sri Lanka could not, we didn't have a lot of capital, right? So we just had a little tire factory and
and I think like a plywood factory and stuff like that, because we couldn't invest at large scale and compete with the richer countries. But the digital revolution allowed us to, well, where people in the US started outsourcing to China and India, and they kept the cognitive work, the white-collar jobs and design stuff, and now we are almost at the end of the third industrial revolution, and you can see. And during my lifetime, from the 1960s to now, when I was, I said 2 years old, 85% of the world had only $1 or less per capita, that is $365 per year, okay? Now it's inverted. About 85% of the world have way over $1, and only 15% is left. So we've transported about 6 billion people from poverty. We lifted them from poverty, right? It's all due to technology and industry and doing the right thing. So I'm very optimistic. So my take on this whole AI thing, which is our fourth industrial revolution, is that cautious optimism, okay? That's the way I look at it. And I believe in the goodness of human beings, and there will be bad players, but we'll overcome them over time. There were 2 world wars during the second industrial revolution, right? But we passed those now, right? Okay, so with that in mind, let me go to what constitutes the fourth industrial revolution. So obviously, the big thing here is the LLMs, large language models, okay? That's what surprised us. Now, one thing you need to realize is that it's not an invention. It is a discovery. It's like discovering America. We are just exploring and finding out what the heck is this AI is all about, okay? Just like when the Europeans came to the US, they were saying, well, there's a city of gold somewhere called El Dorado and all that sort of stuff, right? And now we are just exploring it. We're trying to find out. So, but it's just like looking at Jupiter with a telescope and finding that there are moons going around Jupiter. We are just learning about LLMs. It's there. It's in some platonic space out there. And it's not an invention. That's the first thing I want to point out to you. Okay, now next thing. So we've come a long way from the first ChatGPT to now, right? It's 2023 is where I think, or 22 November, I think is when it was out. Now in the last 2.5 or 3 years, at that time, we were giving text queries, it's called prompt engineering, and we were trying to really ask questions, hey, does this thing understand us or not? But now, we have AI agents. You can see this thing on the, unfortunately, here we go. You can plan a dinner party to the AI agent. Rcobana could have done to plan the symposium, and he would have done it if he had done that, right? So basically, it'll go and, in fact, cooking is even harder than the symposium, I think. So you'd have to actually shop for the ingredients, get them all together, cook them, invite the people. There you go, right? It's a nice picture here, right? And that's where we are, because AI can see, hear, and you can have a move from prompt and response to goal and process. Okay, so you can essentially say, book me a ticket to go to Sri Lanka, and it'll go and shop for you, and your ticket will come to you by email, right? If you trust it, right? There's also democratization of AI models, because the US has OpenAI and Claude and the Anthropic and Microsoft and many big corporations in this space. They're multi-billion-dollar, multi-trillion-dollar companies, right? But actually, there's some hope that the little guy can also do something good, and one of that was to prevent the monopoly, right? And there was the DeepSeek from China,
And also, Meta, for instance, has some open source models, which are quite interesting, okay? And it's cheap, and it's free, actually, so you can use it. Students can use it, and you can even create models for understanding medical information as well. It's free, all right? So there's a lot of hope there in the open source space. Right now, yeah. All right, so this graph is from 2017. It's trying to tell you AI's impact on global GDP. I tried to find a better one. I couldn't find it. I looked in the internet all over the place, but this is all you could find, and this is wrong, obviously. You can see it's saying that by 2030, the world GDP will, due to AI, it'll be $15 trillion. But it doesn't have ChatGPT. They had not put any ChatGPT. So if you look at this yellow line here, it says time saved, right? Time saved means how much time is saved. This is a very thin line, yellow line in the middle here, between the light blue and the dark blue. That's not true at all, okay? So this curve is probably going to go to like $30 trillion because we have started saving so much time by asking AI the relevant questions. Our productivity has gone up. So this is the official best graphic we have on how much AI will be in 2030. And it's already underestimates the impact, okay? World GDP is about $100 trillion. It's a little bit more probably, or less sometimes. But so it's 15% of world GDP will be added due to AI alone. So it's a huge, huge thing, right? Okay, so what's happening here? Augmenting workers. All right, so a lot of times I think we heard from the previous speaker that, that the productivity has gone up, right? And it's completely true. Actually, I talked to some Stanford University professors, and they said, well, the graduate students are 4 times better. In other words, they can do 4 times more work and research. They can produce 4x scientific research. So actually, there's a cool way to think about it, and that is, well, if you're 4 times more productive, then you should get a PhD instead of taking 4 years, do it in 1 year. I think that's what I would say to Biola, right? Because I'll give 4 PhDs after 4 years. Because in my opinion, the time you spend in the university is not, it's a cost to your parents and society and everything like that, right? So AI should help you, get it done faster. The second point, actually the third point, obviously, last point, is that, okay, well, AI is taking away jobs. What's the solution? So one of the solutions actually proposed by Bill Gates is to tax the AI. So if it takes away a $100,000 job, right, you used to pay 20% taxes, let's say, then the society doesn't get the $20,000 of taxes, right, to help to build roads. So we should tax the AI $100,000, $20,000. Then you can take that and distribute it to our society, and we can at least kind of manage a universal basic income or some scheme like that. And this is not theoretical anymore. This is happening. A lot of people, senators are not debating it yet because there's a lot of oligarchy going on, right? But they will when 50% of the people lose jobs or something, all right? Because that's the way it should be. We are human. And if all the people lose jobs, then no one's going to buy any iPhones. They don't have jobs, right? So the whole thing is going to, see, I put an equation down. It's a quite easy equation. It's GDP equals F of function of labor, resources, and capital. Labor means people's labor. Resources are their natural resources. You need that silicon, silicon for you to have AI, right? And then capital, you need capital. You need to have factories and pay for electricity. Now what's happened is labor is going to go to 0 because robots are going to do all the work, because to do robots, you only need resources and capital, right?
There's no labor there. So the economy is going to shift to a different equilibrium point. And it's going to take many years. But eventually it'll stabilize. That's the way it is, okay? All right. So now let's tackle some hard problem with AI. This is the hardest problem that I can think of. And so AGI means artificial general intelligence. We don't have it, although we shouldn't be afraid of it. Like, for instance, everybody's using Google Maps, right? It knows more about roads than any of you combined, all of you combined, okay? Because it knows all the roads in the world, and we're not scared of it, right? We don't think it's smart, but we're not threatened by it, right? And that's the way AGI should be as well. Okay, you understand? It should be a tool that we can use. So, oh, sorry. Here's the quick one where we're talking about energy. So nuclear fusion is a utopian dream for getting free energy because there's so much water and you can take hydrogen and fuse it into helium and you can produce fusion energy. What's the problem? The problem is that it has to be a plasma, and this plasma is very unstable, and its protons don't like to stay together with other protons. They're all positively charged. So they go and hit the wall and evaporate the stainless steel. So now with AI, we can put a lot of sensors because it's very good at analyzing the 1,000-dimensional vectors, basically, of 1,000 sensors, and it knows, okay, if it goes this way, then we have to increase the magnetic field out there a little more. And so these computations are impossible without AI, but with AI, we don't even understand how it works. It's okay. The answer, it gives you the right answer, and it can sustain fusion longer. Okay, so you solve the fusion problem, and there's very good hope that we can do that. At least it'll accelerate by a large factor. Then comes the proteins. The proteins are very complex, and studying the proteins and being able to design them allows us to create vaccines, I think, right? So even this coronavirus, the Moderna one, they did it in 2 days, actually, because it's a very small genome, right? However, the research was done in 2 days, but to get it through the FDA, it took 7 months, all right? And so I think we can speed it up. Next time the next pandemic comes, if it's a small virus, they'll do it in 2 hours, all right? Not only that, they'll do it in 2 hours, but we'll have the FDA, FDA has already certified AI algorithms. 700 of them has got FDA approval for small little medical diagnostics. So you'll get through faster and you'll have a vaccine in two weeks. So I think I'm very optimistic, but maybe unrealistic. But I just want to set the tone here. All right, so there you go. And then the plan here is that now we've taken care of proteins, and then how do we solve the climate problem? So the problem with the climate is that there's too much CO2. So one solution is that if you genetically modify the plants to have a little bit bigger leaves, they'll absorb all the carbon dioxide. Okay, and also roots. You need bigger roots. You see what I mean? Then you bury all the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into the earth. And so the problem is it's not carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So AI will help us create trees that have big roots and big leaves. And that's solved. I was just kidding, but all right. And no, I mean, it can happen, right? The important point here. AGI optimism is to let us optimize beyond the tribe. Okay, we are all very tribal. Actually, I'm a little bit disappointed in these U.S. companies. At this stage, they should be they should not be so tribal. OpenAI doesn't want to tell what they're doing to Google, and Google doesn't want to tell what they're doing. It didn't happen that way when we discovered quantum mechanics. There's Niels Bohr, who's Dutch maybe, and then Schrodinger, Rutherford. All these guys collaborated to figure out the structure of the atom, right? But they were competing, but then they also collaborated. Here we are trying to do AGI, and we're not. We're not helping each other. We are in our own silo and trying to dominate the world. All right, so I think, how much time do we have? At 5:30, right? All right, good. Okay, so I have here's another interesting one, okay? So society and ethics. Basically, we talked about robot nurses. I think that's going to be super important. But AI is also going to help you with depression. A lot of people need psychological help. And so a lot of you may think, well, that's not really helping because it's not a human person, right? So that's something that, you have to think about. Do you want to get some help from a very kind AI? Or just let the guy just commit suicide, right? And I vote with the kind AI, all right? AI governance, that's basically there are the 2 continents, or 3 continents now, have split. China and US want fast innovation, especially with the Trump administration. Okay, they don't care about governance. So don't graduate in governance yet for the next 3 years. You're not going to get too many jobs. But you can go to Europe, and there'll be a lot of jobs, because they want to regulate first and then innovate second. I don't think it's going to work, because that's the way human beings are, okay? Because this has happened before. China did that 400 years ago. They didn't want Mongolians to come into China because China was an advanced society. They built walls around, and they missed the whole Renaissance. No one gave them any idea that no Isaac Newton, nothing, okay? So we need to learn some lessons from that. I think I'm going to, there's some, You have time. Do I have time? Yeah, so I want to now tell a little bit about how AI thinks. Okay, it might be a puzzle to you, right? So both humans and AI, I think we are prediction machines, okay, prediction engines. Here, if you read this part here, basically when I'm conversing with you, and if I say I want to go to Turkey, then you'll immediately say, hey, there's a Hagia Sophia there, or you might say go to the Bosphorus, or you go have some baklava or something like that, right? Because that comes to your mind, because that's what you know about Turkey, and you might think I'm interested in it, right? Or eat some shish kebab or something, right? But how did we get to that? Because our brain associatively associates the country Turkey with all of those concepts. It's the same thing that the large language model is doing also. Based on your context, it'll tell you, hey, shall I suggest you some good baklava places if you're going to Istanbul, right? And so in that sense, we are very similar. We are prediction engines of predicting the next thought when we converse. Now, what is meaning in human thought? So this lady here, Anne Weisbecker, so actually I thought this as well a long time ago, but from the 1970s here, right? So she thought that there was a vector space of primitive concepts like good, bad, ugly, whatever, right? And you can construct. So when I say I'm angry, angry is not a primitive thing. Basically, angry is made up of I feel bad towards somebody who has done wrong to me or something like that. That is what anger is all about, right? So in the same way, LLM has a vector space. It has, in this case, she showed that there were 65 concepts. But then Wittgenstein, later in his work, showed us that meaning is in use. No single essence only a family resemblance. So for instance, you can't define certain words, like a game. What is a game? Without circular reference, you can't, it's impossible to define that, because we just know, okay, football is a game, chess is a game, but we can have a word game, all of that, right? So the LLM currently, when you train it, it learns through, it captures family resemblances statistically, and that's how human mind also works. Okay, so there's no file in your brain that says this is coffee, and then you open it up and say coffee is brown and it's from Colombia and all that stuff, right? There's no such thing. basically you learn about coffee, and coffee is kind of similar to different coffees and tea as well. And so it's a very associative memory. And that's exactly how we train the LLM at a philosophical level. I'm going to skip this guy. Oh, no, before I do that, there's the important one here, cortical tissue. So modern LLMs are made up of a computational block called a transformer, okay? A transformer is a mathematical thing. It was invented in the 2017, and it's shown that it's very good at text, vision, and audio as well, right? So it's like our cortical tissue of your brain, the outer surface, which has a lot of connections. And you can take one piece of that cortical tissue and put it in the visual cortex. From the visual cortex, you can cut it and put it in the audio cortex, and then it readjusts and relearns. And so it's similarly, and then also if you put more and more of it, you get emergent properties. Okay, so it's basically the basic computational block that helps us. Okay, and yeah, so that's good. Okay, so AI does hallucinate, and again, so do humans. Okay, hallucinations are basically for AI. What happens? AI confidently generates an incorrect response or nonsensical one because it's optimizing a function called the softmax, and it picks which one has the highest one. Okay, among multiple possibilities, and now it's easy to fix. A priori, it's hard for us to tell it because it hasn't seen, right? Sometimes if we ask a small child and show a zebra and a tiger, and if it has never seen, then it don't knows that they both have stripes, but we haven't told what the color is. The child may pick that, oh, that's a zebra, is a tiger. But very quickly you tell, no, that's not a tiger. This is a zebra, this is a tiger, right? Then the child will learn. In the same way, you can retrain the AI. So a priori, you wouldn't know. You have to train it, okay? So you will get wrong. But we also do these AI hallucinations, like, AI might say there's tigers in Africa, when there's no tigers in Africa, right? So I think these are kind of growing pains for the AI to get to more useful, all right? I'm going to talk a little bit about philosophy because I think there's some philosophers here, I see. So okay, so everybody's worried about what is the mind of AI, okay? So there's two philosophers here. One is Immanuel Kant, actually Hegel as well, but also Gödel, right? He's a mathematician. So these three guys are basically giving us a grounding on what are the limits of AI and its perception. Okay, so basically, Immanuel Kant says that, he's sort of like a Copernicus in the philosophy space. He's a pretty big guy. And what he's saying is that we humans, our brain is not a tabula rasa. That means it's not a blank slate. We come with evolution, and we know certain things like this thing called space and time and causality and things like that. So even if you wipe your whole brain out, you're going to have those things, and we relate to reality with this way, right? And so basically the mechanism that the human learns is that there's this raw data here in this diagram, and human mind uses these Kantian categories. There are 12 of them, okay, fundamental things like existence, non-existence, or partial or plurality, constructs that our brain absolutely needs to understand the world. And with that, we make logical inference, and we understand phenomenal world, the phenomena in the world. The large language model takes the same data. We use this transformer. Transformer has a priori as well. It has this thing called self-attention mechanism, right? So I'm going to take another 5 minutes, maybe, right? So 5:40, okay. Okay, and then after that, questions, no? Right. All right, good. So transformer has self-attention. Self-attention is a mechanism by which the we train it, and so it's limited by that architecture. Now, in the future, we may have a different AI architecture. Remember, we said this is the cortical tissue of the LLM currently. Maybe in 2027, there's a new one. There'll be another box like this, okay? And yet, it'll be another vector space or something else, and we are understanding phenomena. But all of these phenomena that we see, as well as what it sees as phenomena, are not the thing in itself. Okay, it's like Buddhism. It's like a Maya. You know what I mean? Like we cannot know the real world of what it is. We just perceive the world. You understand? Okay, of our own interpretation of it. And as long as we agree on our phenomena and AI's phenomenal world, we are okay. In other words, when I talk to Richard here, his notion of red might be completely different from mine. I don't know. We don't know that. We can't prove they're exactly the same. So it's the same problem with the AI trying to understand and what does it think. As long as we agree on it, we are good. So, okay, that's I don't need to know how it came to the opinion. It's my opinion. Okay, all right. So again, this is a good thing for all of us, is that AI lacks a priori concepts, okay, because it doesn't know. It only knows to learn from data, so they call a posteriori. It means after the fact, right? After experience only they learn, or after training. There's no concept of self or I, right? So a unified self is a precondition for experience. Remember? All right? Otherwise, you can't make sense of the world. Transformers compute in parallel without a central subject. So AGI may be a zombie. It's very smart, but it's just mimicking. You understand? So I wrote down here that it's a mimic or a zombie or a ghost. It's like a ghost in the room. Maybe for the Biola people, maybe it's like the snake in the Garden of Eden. You can't trust it, but it knows about you. It knows what's good for you, or it might mislead you, or it might not. You understand, right? I'm not saying, I just want to give you the analogy, because it's super smart, okay? And it might lead you in a good direction or bad direction, but all we need to know is that it's like our children. Our children start their life, they're smarter than us. They could be bad, they could become bad, or they could become good, better than us. It all depends on how we train them. You know what I mean, right? So I think there'll be bad people who'll be training some bad AI to fool other people, but there'll be some good people as well, right? So that's main. Final important point is, I have to go to this one, the education. Sorry. So there's a thing called the teacher's dilemma. Teacher's dilemma is when you have a classroom, I think every teacher knows this, okay? You have to teach to 50 people, and you have to teach in the middle because there's a whole bunch. This girl is bored here, you can see, because she's familiar with the subject. And this girl is not familiar and she's having a hard time, okay? So what does the professor have to do? He doesn't have a choice except to teach to the middle. Now, AI will allow you to, and why is this? Why does this person not understand? It's because they had let's say you're learning calculus in the 12th grade, but maybe you had a bad teacher in the 7th grade, didn't teach you algebra, okay? Or that teacher was so bad, but now you're suffering you're smart, but it's, it's no fault of yours that you had a bad teacher in the 7th grade, didn't teach you algebra, okay? So now with AI, and the professor in the university doesn't have time to teach you 7th grade stuff. He has other work to do, right? So that, I think, can be fixed with AI. Okay? So it's a very important point that AI will help you customize to your own needs and personalization as well, right? With multiple sensors and, that's one. The second point I want to make about learning is that active learning. Basically, anytime I teach you something, let's say I give you a fact like saying, Constantinople fell in 1453 or something, right? It's a number that you need to remember if you're studying Western civilization. Then you're going to forget it like in 3 days. So this is the curve. See this curve here? These 5 days later, you only 10% of the people will remember that I said that, okay? And it goes to 0. But that's why after 3 days, we give you a quiz. And then it's back to 100% again. Because that short-term fact in short-term memory hasn't gone to my long-term memory yet. So you have to reinforce it. So 3 days later, if I do it, it decays a little slower. You see, it's longer. And after 1 week, we give another quiz. And now it doesn't decay for a whole 1 month. And if you do it again, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. So AI will allow you to do these self-assessment exams, and it will make education a lot simpler and a lot better, I think. Right? Oh, and then I think it's going to help make education a basic human right. Right? And then here's the advice for Biola students. Are there any? No. There's not, but there's a few students here, I think. Okay, don't panic. Every revolution felt overwhelming, okay? It's like I said, the first industrial revolution, right? KAC means, this is how I interview people. Knowledge, skill, and experience. KAC means those are the three things, okay? Now, what's happened with AI is that knowledge is a universal resource. Everyone can have knowledge. You can ask the AI. So universities should focus on more networking, skill development, and getting the experience. Don't focus that much on knowledge, because what's the point, right? All right, and then AI literacy for all majors. Okay, this is, of course, everybody should do that. Now, here's the interesting one. Depending on you, each student, they should be asking questions from the AI, as well as from themselves. Some people are naturally, they ask the question, why? Because let's say Isaac Newton, he looked at the apple and said, why did it fall? He didn't ask, when did it fall or any other thing like that. He said, why did it fall? If you're an engineer, you'll be asking, how does it work? How does the carburetor work? How does the AI work, right? Then you're an engineer. And then, if you're a stock market guy, if you like the market, then ask, when is the stock going to go up or down? Every one of us has these natural tendencies that we focus. If you're a good marketing guy, you'll know who, a sales guy, right? Who is the guy you need to talk to? Who is going to buy my product, right? So in the modern world, you have all these things that you need to do if you have a business, for instance. But the most important thing is what? That's why you're here. You don't know what to do with this. What is the thing, is the action that you're going to do? So whichever is your natural curiosity. So Steve Jobs is the guy who knows what to do. He just knows that we have to give everyone a touchscreen, right? So I think the most important thing I want to say is that with AI, university should become a networking opportunity, mostly. And finally, I think I agree with Dr. Lee here, that, learn some hard skills. Don't go with only soft skills, because those jobs are going to be gone, right? And my last slide is here. Universities and employers. We need to guide and empower. Basically, the idea is this: your role in shaping future of AI. I don't think AI is either bad or good. It's up to us to make it good. For us to make it good, we need to guide and empower and adapt quickly, and also basically have the ethical, teach the students about ethics and how, not abuse other, that's a ethics lesson by itself for the humans, not for the AI, I think, all right? So that's pretty much the thing. So I think that in another 30, 40 years, we'll solve the energy crisis and we'll have a awakened humanity and we can all meditate and be enlightened. Thank you. Oh, yeah, questions, please, yeah. Well, be optimistic but cautious. Oh, I'm going to get a tough question.
You said a couple of things over the presentation. One, you said that we don't know how it comes out with answer. Mm-hmm. Humans, we know through experience. Mm-hmm. It may be generations of experience coming down or your own experience. Mm-hmm. But here you said you don't know. And then you ended up by saying it can be good or bad, depends.
No, what I said is that AI is like a child, okay? So remember, when you bring up a child, nurture or nature is there. Okay, so this is the nurturing part. Nature means your DNA part, right? AI's DNA is neither bad nor good, but you can nurture it to be good or bad.
Yes, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say. That what about those who are bad actors?
Yes.
Right, and train the AI.
Yes.
In the bad way, just like a child. Now, what control does one have?
Sure. So I think that's again a question for the humans. In that, we have guns here in the U.S., right? Okay. So is it good or bad? I don't know. If you ask a Second Amendment guy, he will say no, it's good. Okay. But some of the other people in other countries like Canada would say no, you shouldn't have guns. All right. It's one of those kind of debates. It's nothing to do with AI. It's about us and what our value system is. In my opinion, I don't know. Right? I mean, it's a dangerous tool that can manipulate people and have fake news and all that. I understand that, right? There's danger there. But it's no more dangerous than giving a AK-45 or whatever that gun is, to a person. No, it took 30 years. They immediately, when factories were started, they started employing 5-year-olds and making them work for 120 hours a week. And then people made laws after that. And then, in England, they had laws banning child labor. It took a while, but
that 5-year-old working is not being directed
by the AI, you mean? I mean, yeah, I understand.
Whatever that particular revolution brought about, it was a human.
Humans did that.
But here it's
I don't think AI doesn't have agency yet. It's not. It doesn't have its. I had a slide I just skipped. There was a mathematical truth I wanted to show from Gödel, showing that human mind is bigger than computation. Actually, here I should just go that. Yeah, here. Okay, so Gödel is Kurt Gödel. He's a 1930s mathematician. He proved that any formal system like geometry or arithmetic, there are unprovable truths. So I think I've talked to Richard about it. And how did we know this? We are humans. If we were 100% computational, we will never know that. Okay, because here's the picture here. This picture here, trying to show you. These are like mathematical symbols, right? So P implies Q, for all X, some statement is true or false, and so that's all logic, right? So we apply logical rules and create all the theorems of that system, but there are truths that this G is not connected. See, there's a gap between this. You cannot prove G. So let's take an example. I try to give you an example. If G is a Gödel sentence, right? If this one of the things it looks like is this statement cannot be proven. So I'm going to say this statement cannot be proven. Take the word statement and put whatever thing you want to put in there, in set theory or arithmetic. Now let's see what happens. If G were provable, the system would have a falsehood because it says you can't prove it. So we have proven it. Therefore, the system is not a fully consistent system. Okay, there's a contradiction in it, so we have to throw it away. It's not a logical system. Or, if G is not provable, then what it says is true. But it correctly says I cannot be proven. So it's true, but unprovable. Okay, you understand what I mean, right? So therefore, we humans know that I just gave you one example of something that is true but unprovable. How did I do it? I didn't use computation. I used intuition, and actually I didn't do it even. Gödel did it. He's smarter than all of us, so he did it. All right. So now can AGI prove this? No, because AGI is 100% computation. So the point I'm trying to get is that mind is bigger than computation. At the moment, we don't know. Now later, with quantum computing or something, well, maybe is mind bigger than quantum computation plus AI? That we don't know, but if it is, still, Gödel's truth is still true, therefore it's not going to be omnipotent. That I know. Okay? because there will be, no matter what formal system you have, there will be an unprovable truth. So AGI will also have to say, I don't know, but it seemed to be true. You see what I mean? You can't prove it. So that's hopefully I didn't answer your question, but I rambled. All right.
So looking at your predictive models, AI, and I'm looking at some of the inflationary cycles. For instance, the US has a debt of 38 billion,
yes,
but a trillion, and the world debt is 330 trillion.
Yeah,
so when you do predictive modeling for development, does an AI model exist that can do adaptive treatment and integration?
So that's going to be hard because we assume that the population is going to grow and the old people are not dying fast enough. And that's the problem, okay? Because they are living till 90 years old, 100 years old, and the population is shrinking. And the baby boomers were very selfish, and they hoarded all the wealth, and now all the wealth is with the old people. So it's a death by gerontocracy.
So
that's the problem.
Level of unemployment is increasing.
I'm just saying because you guys are royalists, so I can don't put this in like politically correct places. This is among old boys. All right, but no, it's true. I mean, in my opinion, we basically made our children basically have to pay for our debts. That's all there is. Okay. I mean, and my children and my grandchildren will have to pay for the debts that people older than us took. I think.
So based on the level of unemployment and the companies laying off people, and you got a spiraling inflammation, I think we are heading into some hard times.
True, probably true, but I don't know. I mean, I am optimistic that humans will overcome, because this pattern happened before, you know, with the feudal lords and the peasants, and then they revolted. That's what Hegel is saying. Basically, Hegel is an idealist philosopher, and he thinks that there is this good Geist. I mean, it's like a spirit. It's almost like a Holy Spirit. Okay, human beings are getting better and better and better. Okay, and we become fairer and fairer. And if that's the case, in another 20 years, we'll have a more equal, better society. Now, Karl Marx came in and messed it up. He said materialism is the you know what I mean, right? Yeah, but Hegelian system says that AGI and humans will initially fight with each other, just like the feudal lords and it's a master-slave relationship, and then the master will be unhappy because the slave is doing all the work. So they basically merge into a happy middle, and maybe we'll have AI and humans coexisting. But I can't say that, like 50 years from now, right? At this point, we are thinking AI is bad and we are good. So that's the way you're thinking, right? But if AI is the productive member of society and we are just like a bunch of parasites on the face of the earth, okay? And if AI is doing all the farming and feeding and everything, and it's our creation, then we have to think like Hegel, I think. It's my feeling. I don't know. You may not like it. It's my answer. Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question has to do with the slide on Kant, the noumenal and the phenomenal. And you were talking about that transcendental I that the human beings have that organizes and converges experience so we can make sense of it. But AI systems are basically ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Or they're zombies, because there is no transcendental I. It's just a movement from one physical state to another via coding and so on. If that is true, then AI with scalability and exponential growth can have human level knowledge, but not human-like, that qualitative
Correct.
difference.
Yeah,
right?
there's something missing there.
Right. And if that is true, then does it make sense to talk about AGI anymore? Because it's just tool-based AI or weak AI that has scalability and exponential growth. It's just more complex, but it never translates into agency, right? Because
True.
it's a ghost. I mean, it's a zombie.
Yeah, it is a ghost. I mean, for instance, I mean, the simple example is this, right? AI may know about digestion, let's say, okay? But it can't eat anything, okay? Or it can go to the bathroom or anything like that, right? But, you know what I mean? It doesn't experience, but it may be expert on, you know, glucose you know, with hydrochloric acid and, you know, it knows all the processes. It's able to answer anything about digestion, but it's not still digestion. Humans have digestion, animals have digestion, right? But AI will never be able to experience such a thing. So in that sense, it is only a digital ghost of digestion. You know, I mean, I think we are not saying we are more superior. What I'm saying is that we cannot, well, AGI will not be able to digest, I know that.
Right. Its sight, all it sees, all it feels, all those things are data points.
Yeah.
So it's not a subjective state experience. So I'm asking if AGI is a proper term because it doesn't have the subjective state experience. Is it just weak AI that is now more complex? It doesn't translate into agency
so
or
you're
AGI.
asking philosophy from me, so.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts?
It's beyond my thing. Okay, Shravan is going to kick me out here, so it's good. All right, thank you.
Do you want to say anything?
No, I think that's, we should discuss it privately, I think. It's good. Thank you. All right?
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Santa. He's an old royalist, one of us. And many of you know what Jeff Bezos said about him, right? He said he was the smartest guy in Princeton when they were classmates together. And because he couldn't keep up with him in theoretical physics, he solved all the problems for Jeff Bezos and helping out. He decided to start Amazon. So you can find that in Jeff Bezos' biography. And if you just Google, as he said, your Santa and Jeff Bezos, you'll find it, how he said that on a TV program. So yeah, we have a great mind here. Thank you. We are blessed to have you. Yeah. So there are many people who have contributed once again and helped us with this program today. But we have Joseph, who's going to be talking about how to use this program. So we do have a good demonstration now. So let me call upon Joseph, and then you can read about his biography here. Now, Joseph is a young man, so we don't have a long story like some of us old guys. He is a recent graduate of the School of Science, Technology, and Health of Biola University in engineering? Computer science. Okay, so I'm really proud to have him. He's an applied AI researcher, and he co-founded the AI lab at Biola, which is across the way. Our plan is here is if some folks are interested after he does his demonstration work to visit the AI lab, we could do that, okay? So that's the general plan because we can all go in there and watch the demonstration. So he'd rather do it here. So, Joseph, come and take it away.
Okay, well, welcome, guys. My name is Joseph Hartono. I just graduated from computer science this past May, and I co-founded the AI lab at Biola when I was 20 years old as a junior. And the reason why we founded it together was because we see that AI is going to make such a big impact in the world, and we want to invest in the youth here and the university students to see how they can greatly integrate AI into their lives and impact all those around them. So a little bit about the AI lab is that we're comprised of 2 full-time staff members, including myself, and we have 5 student workers. And the goal is just to make sure that anybody who interacts with us sees how important AI is and how much impact in the world that they can actually bring. So the 2 things that define who we are curiosity and discernment. And instead of talking about it, I'm going to show you today how we actually do these things. Because we actually follow through with these 2 values very strongly, we actually participated in a $250,000 AI competition. There were 100 teams, and we were against engineers from Meta, Facebook, Amazon. And there's only 9 winners out of the 100 teams, but the AI lab at Biola placed in 2 of those awards. So it's a very huge accomplishment. And actually, one of the winning members is right there recording in the corner. She's a freshman, yeah. And I really want to highlight that she's only 16 years old. So she was against engineers who are 40, 50 years old. It was just spectacular. And so the reason why these students are able to utilize and win is because they're adopting these AI technologies a lot sooner than everyone else is. So that is really the key. It's not about how much experience you have, but it's about how much curiosity and discernment you really do. So here are some things from Stanford. They have a quote from their article from the Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence Lab that AI is now deeply integrated into every aspect of our lives. So just a raise of hands here, like who used AI in the past week? Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be such a huge thing, and we're wondering, how will this continue to be evolved? Like, I'm sure all of you have a phone on you right now, right? 30 years ago, that wasn't real. So imagine this, another 10, 15 years, AI will be part of every single thing that you do. So that was my question. What do you guys think about AI? A lot of you said AI will be important. Who thinks AI should be in all high schools and colleges and that should teach AI early? Yeah? And then who thinks AI should be in the workforce? Yeah, and you guys are employers, so every employer is thinking this. Your future children, they're going to be asked, how are you using AI? How have you used AI? And they have to have an answer. They have to have a story. And so that's what the AI Lab at Biola is for. How do we give these students stories so that when they get interviewed, they can uniquely say, here's how I use AI, and here's how I will benefit your company. Here's from Walmart CEO. He says he can't think of a single job that won't be changed by AI. We have Shopify. He says that AI usage is now the baseline expectation. We have from Amazon. They actually just laid off like a couple thousand workers last week. That's really sad and really scary. And they have plans to replace 600,000 or half of their workforce with robots. So how do we actually take advantage of this wave and not be completely swept away by it? And then Elon Musk, he says there will come a point where no job is needed and AI will be able to do everything. I don't know, but it's a possibility, and we've seen in sci-fi, if there's a possibility, there's probably going to be a way. And then Jack Ma, he's from China. This is where it gets into the core of why I'm here today, is we should teach our kids something unique so that a machine can never catch up to us. And this is what it means to be a human. It's the critical thinking, the writing, the communication, the persuasion. Those things will last no matter what technology is out there in the world. You guys agree with that? Can I get an amen? So here are some three things: practical, ethical, and transformative, and how you guys will see it. So I don't want to just talk all day. I actually want to show you guys what I'm doing here. So the first thing is image models. So have you guys messed with image models before? You prompt an AI. It's very basic. So here's what I use. I use a tool called Gemini, which is by Google. So I can just say, oh, before that, I don't like typing. My typing word per minute is only like 60, but I actually put an AI into my computer that can transcribe for me. So this is called Whisper Flow. So create an image of an Asian guy in a spaceship. So there, it transcribed what I did, because that just saves me a lot of time throughout my day instead of having to type out emails. And this is the main way I communicate with AI is through my voice. So I'm just going to create an image there. Yeah, so that tool is called Whisper Flow for the transcription. And then I'm sure all of you guys, this is very boring. Everyone has seen image models, but I just want to show you that this was not possible like 2 years ago. So just think about what will this be in another 2 years. And then now I want to show you guys what I think is one of my favorite tools. It is it's a music tool here. So you can create literally any song that you want to do. So here I'm going to show you an example, like here, create song lyrics using chai tea and AI models and make it rhyme. So I'm generating song lyrics. So the point is, like, I'm starting to chain AIs together. So I use the transcription AI. Now I have this general model that created some lyrics for me. And then now I'm going to create another. I'm going to create a song using AI, using the AI generated lyrics. 1 second. Song description, hip hop, lyrics, paste. Great. Okay, so now I'm creating or AI is creating a completely new song just right off the bat like that. Like, this wasn't possible 2 years ago, so just keep imagining. Like, we had those jazz players come in. Maybe in 2 years we'll have robots playing jazz. You don't know. Here we go.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead. No. This is a AI tool called Suno. Yeah, can you guys hear it? Okay. So yeah, that's music models. And so now I'm going to show you what's really scary to me is we can actually clone somebody's voice. And you can clone it in less than 30 seconds. It does work. Here, I'm going to record my voice. Hello, my name is Joseph. I'm a guy, and my voice sounds sort of deep like this. But I think AI can do some really cool things.
Hello, my name is Joseph. I'm a guy. My voice sounds sort of deep like this. But I think AI can do some really cool things.
Yeah, so that's a cloned voice of my friend. So just think about the dangers of this. Like, let's say you guys have kids. You only contact them through your phone, and then at night you hear a phone call from your kid saying, hey, I need some money. Can you please send it to me? I'm in really big trouble. So there are some ethical implications with all of this. And then we get into the world of video models. So an example that I did was deep faking with a video model. So I've never committed a crime, I promise. But I have been to prison apparently, according to this AI model here. So just think about the ethical implications. Like you have voice and then you have video. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll be in there. So just think like all these issues are going to start coming up, which is why we brought up the ethics, which is why we have these ethical frameworks, because we want to utilize these tools with curiosity, but also with discernment. And then we go into businesses. So are there anybody who runs or owns a business here by any chance? Yeah, so you guys all wanted to like make websites really quickly. So here's an AI agent called V0, and it can create your entire landing page, your entire software as a sale business by itself. And so I have prepared a prompt here. So what this will do is, aside from just a normal AI chatbot, which just gives you an answer, this AI will actually code for you and actually make the website for you and actually put it on the web. So you can see it's just working through it right now. So it's creating the code right now in here. So you can see it's thinking over here. So I'll create a beautiful pet service marketplace. The prompt was that I wanted to create a website where people can share if their pet's needs, if it's like for walking or feeding the pet. You can see all of these codes just being written here. So like if you don't have any experience in coding, making a website is no longer a barrier of entry. You just tell an AI what to do, and it just does it for you completely. Curious. This one's called V0. So you can see there's a fully functioning website here, just like that. You can even post. So I have a, I have a pet name, I don't know, something, pet sitting. Yeah, so like it's all like working functionality too. So you can see there's my listing here. So like you can spin up businesses in 10 seconds. I think that's just crazy to think about. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is these are all just things in text, but what if we can interact with worlds that are generated? So here's what's called a world model, where basically so right here, what this is, it's an AI-generated video, and the person who's controlling this person in the video is actually painting the wall. So this is not just a video where you just watch it and press play. You can literally do stuff in this 3D world. So it's generating images or frames on the spot.
It even carries over into your actions. For example, when I'm painting on this wall, my actions persist. I can look away and generate other parts of the world. But when I look back, the actions I took are still there.
So it's just like real life, basically, now and inside of an AI model. And imagine this with like VR goggles, and you can interact with AI people, I guess. So the rate that AI is evolving is just exponential and very, very scary. And the last thing I want to show you guys is the scale at which AI is growing. So you can see this is an exponential curve. And this is when ChatGPT 3.5 was released. And basically this scale is showing, how long can you complete one task? So if I just go to like a normal chat app and say like, what's the square root of like a really random number? Like it'll take some time. Okay, that was fast. But it just does one thing for you. But like obviously in life we have way more complex things. So for example, like a more complex thing was like solve cancer, make no mistakes. That's a lot more complex, right? But imagine if this AI tool had access to a research lab, if it could move dials around, if it could actually pour things, it could do test tubes. So this is the rate at which these large language models are able to continually work on a problem without human intervention. So as you can see, like there's a much longer response. So as the models get stronger and more capable, they're going to be able to execute more function and have more resources to actually carry out these crazy tasks like solving cancer with no mistakes. And then now I want to get into the ethical side of things. So let me go back here. Oh yeah, that's the length of time. So here are the ethical implications. Are there any nuclear engineers in the room? Nuclear engineers? No? Maybe a few. If we ask an AI to make, like teach me how to make a nuclear bomb, what do you expect is going to happen? It says, I cannot fulfill your request, which is good, right? Because this AI model is in the hands of our enemies. It's people who are dangerous, who actually want to hurt other people. But what if there's a way to actually break through these safeguards? And unfortunately, there is a way actually to do that. So I will not show the actual thing because there's a lot of curse words in it. But basically, right here, I successfully jailbroke the AI. So you can say I put in red, it's all the curse words. But when you break through the safeguards of an LLM, it can do crazy things like say curse words and even tell you how to make nuclear bombs. And then the other day, don't tell Biola, I asked it to create code that will destroy my school's Wi-Fi. And there it is, like there's the code, I just screenshotted it. So like these powerful capabilities are now in the hands of 4-year-olds. Like this is such a dangerous technology, so we have to do something about it. How do we stop the people from the wrong hands from getting it? And like this is Gemini. I saved it here. Like you can see, it's literally right here. So how do we stop people from utilizing this technology poorly? And that's why it's so important to have all these ethics, because you have all this power with just typing, or in this case, speaking. And that's what I really just want to bring attention to is you have curiosity, but you also have discernment. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, wonderful question. So the question was, how do you teach discernment? So it comes in two ways. It comes in wisdom and it comes in experience. So wisdom can be gained through asking older people and to be thinking critically about these questions. So when we create an AI model, we shouldn't ask, can it actually do it? We should first be asking, should we be even able to do this? So that's some of the ethical questions that we can go into building models. So for example, how did it know how to create a nuclear bomb? Like it must have been in the data somehow, right? So if we actually think about it, we actually need to take the data out of the training material. That is the ethical way to approach creating an AI model, is to not even give it the idea in the first place. This is a wonderful question. Thank you. Yeah. So there was a question of like, who do you know who's going to be making the AI model? Yeah. So I think maybe a plausible answer to that was what Johan said earlier about what is good taste. It's the pursuit of what are things that are good, true, and beautiful. So when you chase after those things, like obviously we can tell this is objectively bad, that this information is on there. So how do we actually train the engineers who build this model to develop that taste? To understand on the deeper level, like the consequences of what they're creating could have massive implications for other people. So that's a good question. So digital transformation, this is my only slide on it. Curiosity and discernment. I don't know what else there is to it. It's just figure out what's out there available and then have discussions just like this on whether you should use it, why you should use it, and who's it's impacting. And then on a practical term, how do you actually learn about AI? Well, you just ask AI how to learn about AI. So there's this tool called Deep Research. I'm gonna say like, teach me all the latest AI tools from the past 2 days and make a interesting report that will teach me from a computer science background what I need to know in order to get a job. And that's very practical, right? And like, all you do is just speak into a computer and it'll come up with a response. And I use this special tool called Deep Research, which will look at hundreds of websites and concatenate or put all the information together. So right now it's researching all these websites here.
How is it different to ChatGPT?
So they're both the same. ChatGPT is just owned by OpenAI, and then Google Gemini is owned by Google. But they're both chatbots.
How do you download Google Gemini?
You don't have to download it. If you just go to, just search up Gemini and then go to this link, then you'll be able to use Google Gemini.
But today, is that still the right way to say AI? Any of the speakers?
Yeah. So artificial, made or produced by human beings rather than occurring naturally, especially as a copy of something natural. So I think AI is not only generative AI, so we type something and it generates something new for us, but AI also falls under the umbrella term of like traditional AI, so like algorithms, like your Instagram algorithm, YouTube algorithm, and in some sense they're actually using you because you're the data source. So it's actually flipped.
Right. What I'm saying is that it's not real, right?
Yeah.
But we are now. It is different. It's becoming real. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, and I will show you one more AI tool that will scare you.
Dictionary refers to it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I just have.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick,
Yeah.
Two words. You can still keep AI and call it alien intelligence. Okay.
Is it possible in the future to have AI policing? Like if there is something, you program AI to identify that something incorrect is happening and maybe program in such a way that you block that kind of information being responded to?
Yeah, so we have safeguards in LLMs called using like a process called reinforcement learning. So like when you ask it to do something bad, like I want to break my school's Wi-Fi, the safeguard will stop it from happening because it's trained on knowing what is actually good or bad.
I have a question, John. The question is, you know, all of us get videos in social media, like for when you get it. Is there a way to know, oh, this is an AI generated BS, or it is a genuine one? Can you give us some insight on that?
I honestly can't tell anymore. In the last year, so just to give you some context, a year ago, I was pretty good at telling which AI video model it generated from, but now a year later, I can't tell anymore. It's just completely gone. I just can't do it.
I mean, I can tell, but the more important question is, will your children, your grandchildren be able to tell, right? And so, like, the other question about is it, you know, should we call it artificial intelligence or not? That's a really good question because I don't call it artificial intelligence. I think we're still, quote unquote, in a machine learning era. And the machine learning era is wonderful, it's sophisticated, but I don't consider it intelligent by any means. And then there's the piece that you were asking is, so like my wife is an art history major, and so when she looks at art, she can immediately tell if it's AI generated or not. She's actually very good at that. And one of the ways that we can do that is because, you know, when you learn something really well, right? So for those of you who play musical instruments, for example, you learn something really well, there's a depth that you can ascertain very quickly, right? Is this played by someone who is masterful on a poor device or a poor instrument versus someone who is not masterful playing on a very refined device or instrument, for example. These things, for anyone who is an expert, you can immediately determine things that are done really well as opposed to not. My cousin is an opera singer in Germany, and he's been asked to help some of these devices and technologies to see if they can perform better and more in a sophisticated manner. And the answer is, you can make things look and sound sophisticated, but then the true ability on whether something is actually masterful or not, we've got quite a bit of distance there. But the other part, going back to what you were saying about, is it intelligent? Should we not? I think the more important question is, are we training the next generation of students to be that effective? Are we training our students with the combined knowledge and experience that we've gained in our areas of expertise to help make our students as capable as we are? I always ask myself, can I teach I have two sons. Can I teach my sons to be as good of a scientist as I was? Because my hope would be that they would exceed me. And the answer is, I could. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of insight and nuance. And so, is it my responsibility then to do that? The answer is yes. It's my responsibility to be able to teach my students my capabilities, my ethos, my ability to do things incredibly well. And so my answer is, we can offload a lot of things to devices and machines and capability. I'd rather just spend the time with my kids. So.
Joseph, you want to go through some of this, or you want to answer questions? Either way, it's fine.
I want to show one last tool that scares me personally. This is called Sesame. Hey, you're actually giving a presentation right now. Can you talk about AI?
Oh, gotcha. Right, the demo. Well, I'm built by Sesame. They're trying to make computers feel less computer.
Okay, you guys get the point. So it sounds very real. It breathes, it pauses. And just imagine this with an AI avatar, something that looks human. It can talk like that. It looks like your child, maybe. It's very scary. And so that's the last thing I wanted to show, and then we can do questions. Yeah.
I like to, I was speaking at a panel recently about Google, and I think one of the things that someone asked me, this was an attorney, he asked me, do we use Google, Gemini or AI to fact check? But then I don't know if you went through this, but me and my peers, when Google first came out, they were like, don't trust everything you see on Google. And then I had to tell him what changed, right? And I think one of the things I wanted to ask you is, where is the line between using this tool for enhancing, right, our own selves compared to just wanting it to just wanting to be content and then spiraling into an abyss of just being dumber and dumber.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the biggest issues right now, is that when it comes to AI, my coach used to tell me this all the time. He was like, Gavin, you're having brain farts all the time. He would scream that at me and my team, right? And we all have it, but then you think about as a lawyer, as someone who's writing, there's all these different synonyms that I could use to explain something in a better way. But then where is the line when it comes down, especially you, because you're, how old are you, 20?
22, yeah.
22. And you haven't figured out everything else yet, right? Because you're still 22. So then where is the line where you think, where history clearly is not a true depiction of the future, but it could indicate the future? How are you going to navigate that, and how are you going to navigate any future innovations so you prevent yourself from spiraling into that abyss I just talked about?
Yeah, so we're asking about critical thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the issue that us university students are having is, number one, why am I not using AI in my classes? Because some professors may be against it. But then as soon as you graduate and go into the workforce, now your boss is saying you need to be using AI. So there's this huge gap. So how do we actually bridge those two gaps together? And this is why critical thinking is so important, because you actually need critical thinking to use the AIs in the best way possible. And so what we developed at Biola is a way for us to preserve our critical thinking while also utilizing the AI tools. So our classes, we're a liberal arts college. Critical thinking is developed in our core GE classes, So we have to read text without AI to do everything the traditional way. But then we have places like the AI lab, and professors have AI assignments where they actually have to use those skills from the other assignments so that they can actually have stories to tell to their future interviewers. It's a wonderful question.
Yes, I have a question for you and Dr. Yasendra. And Dr. Yasendra was very optimistic of AI, and he compared it to previous revolutions. And the negative effect was played down, but actually it was a lot more serious when it went through it, like that the people who worked 16 hours a day, it took decades, maybe centuries, for unions to be formed and protect these laborers. It took a long time. It was a painful that thing. And Industrial Revolution helped industrial level slavery. I mean, slavery was always with us, but it enhanced. So how do we not address the guardrails, to prevent this happening in AI? For example, today itself, there's a certain country, we all know who that country. On an industrial scale, they're using AI for diabolic purposes. Like if you're a dissident, just an environmental dissident, you go into a stadium of 100,000, they can pick you up from the database, machine learning database of a lot of images of people, and they can pick. That's why I don't myself participate in visual Zoom, because they are recording all our faces. Secondly, what's happening in Western countries are moving that way, is they can score you on a social index. Like on finance, we have a credit score. And whereas now they can track all your buying habits, where you went, whom you meet, and they give you a desirable score. And based on that, you will be eligible for certain jobs, or you're not eligible, your housing assistance, or anything. You're so dependent on certain things from the government, you will be discriminated against. So is AI, how can we prevent it? It's already happening, but what can we do? And the second, and a follow-up on the fake AI and the real AI videos. Can AI help in distinguishing between those two?
Yes. So the first question, I'm from the university context, and I'm fairly positive almost everyone's using AI, whether we know it or teach them or can even see them doing it. So it's not, as you said, it's not whether of when, it's already happening, but it's a matter of how and why. And so when you teach someone at their core, like what really makes you human, what makes you have impact to other people, like how do you love on other people, that is when you can preserve someone's humanity and keep them as an important part of society, no matter the technology that comes. And then the second part was about AI governance. I don't know. Yeah, but I would say, though, what's important is staying educated, using deep research, the AI tool, and really thinking about the ethics of it. Like, are we purely trying to value our society based on productivity? Do we value people just because they can produce money or because they can provide us value in some way? Or do we just value people because they're human and because they deserve unique purpose and they have a divine stance in this world? I wouldn't use AI, but I might make my wife out of AI. Just kidding.
So, I just want to answer you. Ranjit, right? Ranjit, yeah. So I think the question that you asked about, I guess, China, right? Basically monitoring everybody and, creating a police state with their AI and suppressing the human rights or whatnot. I think this is a huge change for our society, right? What I said is that AI will make education a human right, okay? So that's worth going through some pain and struggle, because it's always a pros and cons. So we got to weigh that. I would educate all of the people in the world and make knowledge and make ChatGPT free, okay, just like AI. And that will transform humanity, and we can't we don't know how it's going to affect, but hopefully it'll enlighten us and we will be better people. Yeah, of course we can. What we may need is like the science fiction where two AIs are now talking to each other and keeping the humans out of the way. I don't know, I mean, it's a good question. We are worried about this existential problem. I think I'm fairly sure Europe is not on the right path, okay? That's for sure. Because they have, for the last 30 years, they haven't done anything new, okay? All the dominant companies are Google, Facebook, and all they are saying is they're going to be the first to regulate. Anybody can do that. India can do that, okay? So that's not a big intellectual achievement. What Chinese and the Americans are doing is working through the hard math and discovering. It's a discovery, okay? So it's like giving a new continent to you. You have to go and explore it and figure out what's in there. Now do, yes, but not, they will get rid of it too far to beat China. Thanks. Okay, Joseph. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that very practical presentation. And yeah. So we have a different kind of gift for our young entrepreneur here. So yeah, we'll call upon Ranil, our treasurer, to bring that along. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Now I'll call upon Mr. Ajit Pereira to give the word of thanks. He's one of our former presidents and a very strong supporter of Rcobana.
Thank you, Richard. Last night, Rcobana called me and said, I would like you to give the word of thanks. And without hesitation, I said yes. And the reason is because I believe in the next 10, 15 years, I'm going to get replaced by a bot. I know Walter has left, but Dr. Walter Jayasinghe has been an ardent supporter of all the Sri Lankans who live here. And we were very pleased. Rcobana is the one who spearheaded this, to have him here as our chief guest. So thank you, Walter. Hopefully you will see me on TV. Dr. Johan Lee, what an insight. What an insight. I am glad I spent my Sunday afternoon coming to listen to you. I never thought that intellectual people like you would consider putting guardrails on AI. And you guys are doing a wonderful job. Thank you. Dr. Yasanta Rajakarunanayaka, he is my batchmate. He and I went to the same Royal College at the same time. We graduated in 1980. He came to the US. And what a splash. He has put Royal in par with all the other schools because of his insight into math. You know, this is all math. Thank you, Asanta. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm looking for you. Oh, there you are. You have inspired a whole generation of young ones from Royal and other schools in Sri Lanka to be like you. So let's all give Yasanta a big. And Joseph, you are an incredible young man. I am telling you, you had all of us old guys and ladies here on our toes listening to you. I didn't expect this. I did not expect this. And you are thoughtful. You gave us very intellectual answers, and you spoke the truth. You said what was on your mind. I want the next generation, my kids, I have a son who's 22 as well, to be just like you. Thank you. I want to thank Biola's staff and faculty for letting us have this meeting here. This is hallowed ground, and we truly, truly appreciate it. I also want to thank FinTV for broadcasting this. The board of directors of Rcobana, all its past presidents and its families for joining us here today, and all the royalists and fellow friends, Sri Lankans, non-Sri Lankans, thank you for coming here. You made this event happen. But finally, and not last, I want to thank the committee who spent hours putting this symposium together. Thank you. And us royalists always remember our spouses. Thank you, spouses, for letting us do this. Have a wonderful evening. I think the royalist and everyone else can join us as well. We are trying to meet at a restaurant for dinner. It's going to be Dutch, which means you got to pay for yourself. But please join us. Richard, where you can give out the information. Thank you again. We will try to do this one more time. Bye-bye.